Breaking now at 6 a.m. Civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. has died at the age of 84. His family says he died peacefully this morning.
Roseanne Tellez is live with their full statement. Roseanne, good morning.
Good morning. We're outside Operation Push headquarters this morning. It is too early to gather reaction here, but we know there will be many people who want to speak out about their memories of the Reverend Jackson today. And we did receive that statement you mentioned from the Jackson family that we'd like to share. They say it is with profound sadness that we announce the passing of civil rights leader and founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition, the Honorable Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. He died peacefully on Tuesday morning, surrounded by family. His unwavering commitment to justice, equality, and human rights helped shape a global movement for freedom and dignity. Our father was a servant leader, not only to our family, but to the oppressed, the voiceless, and the overlooked around the world. The Reverend Jackson had some health struggles, beginning in 2017 with that diagnosis of Parkinson's disease. In 2021, he also battled COVID, which sent him and his wife to the hospital. He had been vaccinated, but still lost the ability to walk and talk, or at least it was greatly impacted for a time. He appeared in public less and less, and last November was hospitalized at Northwestern. But by then, doctors knew that he was actually battling progressive supranuclear palsy. That's a rare brain condition with symptoms similar to Parkinson's. The Reverend Jackson was moved to an acute care facility, but did make it home in time for Christmas. But in January, for the first time in 36 years, he missed the Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast, which, of course, was another big sign of his declining health. So once again, we're outside Rainbow Push headquarters, expecting to hear so many people weigh in on the loss of this civil rights icon. Roseanne Tellez, Fox Chicago.
You know, Roseanne, if you don't mind me asking, any word yet on any funeral or memorial services that are going to be happening in the coming days?
Well, nothing has been scheduled, but there was mention in the family statement that anybody looking for information about public memorials or, of course, the celebration of life should go to the rainbowpush.org website for details. So you want to keep an eye on that.
All right, Roseanne, thank you very much for that update. Reverend Jackson, a key, crucial figure in the civil rights movement, was very inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In fact, they were together in Memphis the day before Martin Luther King was assassinated. Jesse Jackson worked for Dr. King for years.
Yeah, we look back at his life and legacy here with this piece.
Put your hands together for our leader, the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson.
He was a civil rights leader, a politician, and community activist. Jesse Louis Jackson was born October 8, 1941 in Greenville, South Carolina. He met Jacqueline Lavinia Brown, and they were married in 1962. Together, they had 5 children. It was in a time of civil unrest and the height of the civil rights movement.
Will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood? I have a dream.
He went to work for the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and was with King when he was assassinated in 1968. It was after Dr. King's death that Jackson took the reins and became known as one of the premier leaders of the civil rights movement. In 1971, he founded a group that would later be called People United to Serve Humanity, or Operation Push. In 1984, Jesse Jackson ran for the 1984 Democratic presidential nomination, but lost to Walter Mondale. He tried again in 1988 and landed in second place in the Democratic primaries, falling to then Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis. Jackson transitioned his activism from protest to politics. It was at about the same time that he formed a group he named the National Rainbow Coalition, because it was made up of people from all races and ethnic backgrounds.
That is the unfinished business that I'm about, fighting for equal opportunity for all Americans and peace in the world.
Congratulations.
During his lifetime, Reverend Jackson collected more than 35 honorary degrees and was recognized over and over for his efforts to help those less fortunate. In 2017, Reverend Jackson was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, but he still kept a public face. In September 2021, he and his wife were hospitalized with COVID. He had been vaccinated, she had not. It affected his Parkinson's and his ability to walk and talk, and he had to undergo intensive therapy. But before long, he was back in the public eye doing what he did best, protesting injustice and bringing attention to issues for the less fortunate. Jackson once said, "Never look down on anybody unless you are helping him up." It was a mantra he lived by, one he's inspired others to continue as he leaves a significant legacy behind that helped pave the way for the modern civil rights movement we all know today. In August of 2024, the giant in the civil rights movement was honored at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago.
His contributions are innumerable. His impact and his work are in both places and ways that many people don't know. You know, I say it this way: his fingerprints are places where you might not have seen his footprints. His hands were all over so many things. Many people remember the auto bailout. Reverend Jackson was behind that. McDonald's expanding in African-American communities with tons of African-American owners and board seats. That's Reverend Jackson. And so many other things around the world. So glad that the DNC paused to give him his flowers that he deserves so much.
And in October of 2024, the city of Chicago that he has called home since 1966 gave him the key to the city.
And what a fitting way to wish Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson a very happy birthday, giving him a key to the city he is truly considered to be his home. I think it is entirely appropriate to give great men and great women flowers while they can still smell them.
Use love to motivate you and obligate you to serve the human family. Young America, dream!
And we're hearing from people this morning saying Reverend Jackson's legacy will live on.
And one of those who is joining us to reflect this morning is Juliana Richardson. She is founder of History Makers, the archive, and she joins us now. Juliana, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
What are your, thank you, first of all, for taking time for us on this difficult morning. Can you tell us what are your emotions this morning?
We have lost one of our nation's most significant leaders. And at a time, I was just thinking that this is Black History Month, and at a time that Black history has been under attack. But had we not had Reverend Jackson, I don't know what the 20th century would have been like. And for the person who was speaking and talking about how broad a swath that he reached, we are lucky for those of us who were his beneficiaries.
Again,
historically, yes.
Go ahead. I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
Okay. Historically, there are very few that could approach the historical significance of Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson.
Let's talk about his work and what it meant to Chicago in the national stage. Starting with civil rights, you said, there's a large swath of things that he, had a hand in, but starting with the civil rights movement.
Yes, he comes out of the civil rights movement. There's no question about that. He comes out of the civil rights movement, and in many ways, Operation Push is the center. But we have to look at the 80s. One of the most significant periods for Black America, and Reverend Jackson's at the center of that. And I think that that's important to really understand, his effect on the business community, his effect on the international community, his effect on Chicago, and what he did for this city. Everybody would, that's why Operation Push was such an important gathering place. It was an information place. It was a hub. It's where you went for the real information. It's where you went to be to show your activism and to be taught. That's why it's so significant.
Juliana, can you comment? You mentioned the 80s, 1984 and 1988, and just what an impact Jesse Jackson had on the national stage during both those years.
In 1984, he mounts a campaign, and those who gather around him. 1988, he really activates a campaign, and out of that, he made journalists' career. And the National Rainbow Coalition was a real significant coalition that brought the United States together in a way that many had never seen and have not seen since, except for the election of Barack Obama. It was that kind of coalition. Had there not been a Reverend Lewis Jackson, we would not have seen a Barack Obama. That's what we need to understand.
And even names like Bernie Sanders, AOC as well. Thank you so much, Juliana, for joining us, sharing a little bit of the legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson. We look forward to hopefully talking to you later on this morning for some more details. And as always, we appreciate your work with this and so much more.
Absolutely, Juliana. Thank you so much. And I should mention that her agency, the History Makers, they preserve the oral histories of Black Americans, and she's going to be playing a key role in preserving, in a very physical and literal way, Jesse Jackson's legacy, which is massive.
And we want to switch gears here, and we'll talk about a statement from Congressman Danny Davis is reacting to the news of Jackson's passing. His statement in part saying, "We are saddened, extremely saddened, to hear of the passing of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. Of course, we have known that he was ill for quite some time and that ultimately it would come. Nevertheless, we were hoping that he would continue to live. But the work, the spirit, what he has meant not only to the city, the state, country, and this world will continue to live on."
Okay, stick with us all morning as we follow this breaking news. Next up, we are getting some reaction from the south side of the city. Saquon is going to be joining us in the next half hour from St. Sabina Church. And you can also follow the story on fox32chicago.com and on Fox Local as well. Mike, I'm sure you remember 1984, 1988, when, I mean, he made a huge national splash as a presidential candidate.
Losing to Dukakis in the Democratic primary the 1 year. And Mondale, I think, was at 84.
Right.
But absolutely, he was a contender.
Yeah.
He was a contender.
Surprised a lot of folks.
Right, really. All right, so sad day here, but weather, gosh, it has been so good. Yesterday, we broke the record as expected, hit 65. Today, I think we can get to 62 for the high, despite the fact that kind of the conventional forecasts out there are only going upper 50s. I'm going a little bit higher. Mild morning, 49 at 9. Breezy and mild at 57 at noon. And then it will be certainly cooler by the lake because that wind is going to be southeast, as we're seeing now. But it's 42 at O'Hare. Wind chill, we don't care about that. It's not going to be that cold. 43 at the lakefront, 38 Joliet, 36 at Waukegan, 43 at Gary, 45 at Michigan City, Valparaiso, a little bit cooler, where it is 37. All right, that's my number. All the other numbers here, computer generated, but I'm going above them. I do agree that late this afternoon temperatures will drop into the 40s, but probably not until we get some 50s in places like Waukegan and Deerfield and Wilmette, but it will be cooler at the lake later this afternoon. A little bit of rain in the forecast. I'll tell you when to expect that when Good Day returns.
Cheap things should be everyone's thing.
All right, welcome back, 6:16, and we appreciate you joining us on a sad morning here in Chicago and around the country as we continue to follow the breaking news of the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Yeah, civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson has died at the age of 84. It follows a long hospitalization late last year. Jackson had been diagnosed with a neurological disorder called progressive supranuclear palsy. He was also suffering from Parkinson's disease. Along with being a prominent figure in the civil rights movement, he was also the founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition.
And a reaction to the passing of Reverend Jackson continues to pour in this morning, and our next guest is Michael Neighbors. Reverend Michael Neighbors joins us now from Evanston. Reverend Neighbors, thank you so much for being with us. Let me start off by asking you, just tell our viewers your connection with Jesse Jackson and what your emotions are this morning.
Well, it's overwhelming. Thank you for having me so much. I am grateful for the opportunity to offer just a few words about Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I have modeled my own ministry after for so many years. I was very, very young when Dr. King was assassinated, but one of my first memories is of Reverend Jackson, who was right there on the balcony of the Lorraine Hotel when that happened. And of course, after he was such a model for those who were entering into ministry a generation later. And his model was in so many ways as a charismatic orator. He gave new life to the words, "I am somebody." He motivated an entire generation and was able to merge not only the African-American Christian faith with the current contemporary people of his day, but he was also able to do so in a way that was just endearing. He was able to put together the power and the majesty of the Black movement of the 1960s going into the 1970s like nobody has been able to do. He was a consummate politician. I remember him well when he was able to negotiate the release of folks that were in Iran for many, many years in the 1980s. I've met him on several occasions, and it was always an honor to do so. He is going to be missed greatly, but the legacy that he leaves behind, I promise you that legacy has gone to millions and millions of African-American people and also those in the United States. He's made our country a better place.
You know, I was going to ask you about some of those notable, civil rights advocacy, things that you guys both worked on. I know that you still have the pastoral connection. Are there any other, I guess, notable things that really made a difference that maybe are kind of overlooked with Reverend Jackson's life that you'd like to share with the audience?
I think so, and I'm not sure that the audience is aware of this, but Reverend Jackson started his ministry and his leadership among Black people so early that one of the things that I can remember as a very young man is that he was just down to earth. I remember him playing basketball one-on-one with the late singer Marvin Gaye, and both of them had these giant afros. They were playing basketball, and I think that was a signal to the younger generation that it's okay to be a Christian, it's okay to be a lover of human rights and civil rights, and at the same time to enjoy yourself and be a part of the amazing social navigation that Blacks had in the 1970s and 1980s. So he was very real. He was very down home. He could relate to folks who were on the street corner. He could relate to folks who were in the boardroom. He could relate to folks who were in Congress and also the Oval Office. Not many people are able to do that.
Speaking of the Oval Office, our last guest made a comment that she doesn't think Barack Obama would have ascended to the presidency without the groundwork that had been laid by Reverend Jesse Jackson. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. When Jesse ran in 1984 and 1988, he was setting the groundwork for what would come with Barack Obama about 20 years later. There's no doubt that if he had not run, if he had not paid the price, I think that we would not have seen Barack Obama become the president of the United States. And I think that it's not an accident that Jesse was able to do that with Chicago as his home base and then Barack Obama comes along and makes Chicago his home base as well. And I want to say that the place where I serve in Evanston, the former pastor of the church where I serve also became the president of Rainbow Coalition when Jesse Jackson was running for president in 1984. So what an influence he has had for so many in the metropolitan Chicago area.
It leaves a huge void. All right, Reverend Michael Neighbors, thank you so much for taking time to reflect on a difficult morning. We appreciate it, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right, 6:21, time to turn things over to Mike Kaplan for a look at how today is going to play out. Not quite as warm as our Monday.
No, but still very, very mild for this time of year. I was just thinking, wouldn't it be great if Reverend Neighbors brought up the basketball game between Jesse Jackson and Marvin Gaye?
I can picture it.
I can totally picture it,
we knew what Jesse Jackson's and their hair looked like back in those days.
I had a feeling he had some kind of crazy story.
And it had to be spectacular. All right, yesterday we broke the record easily. We expected that. Hit 65 degrees. Out there right now, it's quite a bit of cloud cover, but there's some glimmers out there, and I still think we're going to break out into at least partly sunny skies. You can see some of that high, thin cloud cover streaming in from the west, so it will not be a perfectly sunny day like we had yesterday afternoon, but I still think it's going to warm up nicely. 42 at O'Hare and Midway, 37 at Joliet, Woodstock 39, 43 at Gary, 41 at Merrillville. I think we're going to top out today at 62. Yes, that is a warmer forecast probably than what you're seeing in a lot of outlets. I think we'll get there, but it will turn cooler by the lakefront. Southeast wind at 8 to 16. Check out the 7-day here. I think we can string together. It's certainly going to be 3 50 pluses in a row, and I think tomorrow's a 60-something lock. We do get some rain in here tonight, maybe even a little bit of thunder in there, and then there's some more rain late Thursday into Thursday night. That will be out of here by Friday morning, and then, yeah, it's going to feel a little bit more like February coming into the weekend. Highs will be in the mid to upper 30s, continuing on Monday, but the rest of next week looks like it's going to be warmer than normal again. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate it. Clergy members have been fighting to get inside the Broadview ICE facility. They want to give communion to some of the detained migrants on Ash Wednesday.
And a court has just issued a ruling allowing that to happen. The Coalition for Spiritual and Public Leadership sued the Trump administration 3 months ago. They argued immigration authorities were unlawfully blocking members from providing pastoral care. Even though a judge has granted them access, they are still waiting for instructions.
We still have had no contact with ICE specifically in order to arrange our visit on Wednesday. So we're still waiting to hear back from them so that would play out. We really do hope that ICE will respond to this federal order, and it really would be disappointing to see the federal government disobey this clear order from a judge.
Ash Wednesday is tomorrow. It signals the beginning of Lent, the most important part of the year for the Roman Catholic Church.
Outrage over a Super Bowl ad is causing the maker of the Ring camera to call off a planned partnership. It is no longer going to be collaborating with Flock Safety. That's a police security company. The technology was pitched as a way for us to use our Ring cameras to find our lost pets. However, the ad wound up sparking tons of privacy concerns. Electronic privacy advocate told us on Chicago Live, some of those concerns are still valid.
The partnership with Flock may have ended, and Flock is known for doing license plate tracking. So they're very good at tracking individual vehicles and looking at the patterns of where a person in that vehicle would go. They canceled that partnership. They haven't stopped community requests, which is the system of saying, hey, we would like information of something that happened in this area. Would you voluntarily share the footage from your camera? So that system is still ongoing.
All right, Flock says it was their decision to cut ties along with Ring. It was a mutual decision allowing both companies, they say, to better serve their customers.
An artist who's being featured in the Obama Presidential Center is sharing his creative secrets. His name is Sunshine Joe because he infuses brilliant color in his work. He was the featured speaker Monday night at the Augustana Lutheran Church in Hyde Park for Black History Month because one of his creations will be displayed at the Barack Obama Presidential Center when it opens.
They provoke thought, and as you look at it closer, I guess the colors grab your attention, but the words and messages is what draws you into it.
Every stitch is knotted by hand. Sunshine Joe lives in Louisville. Before this event, he got to see the Obama Center, still under construction, but he says it was a highlight of his trip to Chicago.
All right, 6:25, and we have some very, very exciting news to tell you about this morning. There's a reason why Natalie Baumke is conspicuously absent today, and that is because there is a new member of the Good Day Chicago extended family. Everybody say hello to Axel Edward. And there's the happy mama right there. How cute is Natalie?
She looks great.
There. Natalie's new little guy was born around 3 a.m. Monday. Mom and baby both doing great.
Welcome to the world, Axel. Oh my goodness.
I texted her last
excited.
night, and I was happy she was responding. I wasn't sure if she'd be sleeping or whatever. But when I saw the name Axel, you know who I immediately thought
Guns N' Roses?
Well, there's that, but Axel Foley, Beverly Hills Cop.
Two great Axels.
Yes, a great Axel.
And now there's going to be a third great Axel.
Yes.
We're so happy for you, Natalie, and family. We know he has a great big sister that's welcoming him with open
Olive is
arms.
so excited to have a little bro. Welcome to the world, Axel Edward. And
Get some rest, get all the snuggles, and then bring him in so we can snuggle.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, pass him around the newsroom. Mike, what a beautiful week to enter the world.
My gosh, he was born on the warmest February 16th in history. How about that?
How about that? How about that? All right, we will be right back with more Good Day after this, everybody.
And night at 6.
Welcome back. 6:30 on your Tuesday morning. Breaking news this morning. Civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson has died at the age of 84. His family released a statement saying he died peacefully this morning.
And if you remember, this follows a long hospitalization late last year for complications with a neurological disorder. In a new statement, his family says in part that Jesse was a tireless change agent who elevated the voices of the voiceless from his presidential campaigns in the 1980s to mobilizing millions to register to vote, leaving an incredible mark on history.
Put your hands together for our leader, the Reverend
was a civil rights leader, a politician, and community activist. Jesse Louis Jackson was born October 8, 1941 in Greenville, South Carolina. He met Jacqueline Lavinia Brown, and they were married in 1962. Together, they had 5 children. It was in a time of civil unrest and the height of the civil rights movement.
Will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood? I have a dream.
He went to work for the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and was with King when he was assassinated in 1968. It was after Dr. King's death that Jackson took the reins and became known as one of the premier leaders of the civil rights movement. In 1971, he founded a group that would later be called People United to Serve Humanity, or Operation Push. In 1984, Jesse Jackson ran for the 1984 Democratic presidential nomination, but lost to Walter Mondale. He tried again in 1988 and landed in second place in the Democratic primaries, falling to then Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis. Jackson transitioned his activism from protest to politics. It was at about the same time that he formed a group he named the National Rainbow Coalition, because it was made up of people from all races and ethnic backgrounds.
That is the unfinished business that I'm about, fighting for equal opportunity for all Americans and peace in the world.
Congratulations.
During his lifetime, Reverend Jackson collected more than 35 honorary degrees and was recognized over and over for his efforts to help those less fortunate. In 2017, Reverend Jackson was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, but he still kept a public face. In September 2021, he and his wife were hospitalized with COVID. He had been vaccinated, she had not. It affected his Parkinson's and his ability to walk and talk, and he had to undergo intensive therapy. But before long, he was back in the public eye doing what he did best, protesting injustice and bringing attention to issues for the less fortunate. Jackson once said, "Never look down on anybody unless you are helping him up." It was a mantra he lived by, one he's inspired others to continue as he leaves a significant legacy behind that helped pave the way for the modern civil rights movement we all know today. In August of 2024, the giant in the civil rights movement was honored at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago.
His contributions are innumerable. His impact and his work are in both places and ways that many people don't know. You know, I say it this way: his fingerprints are places where you might not have seen his footprints. His hands were all over so many things. Many people remember the auto bailout. Reverend Jackson was behind that. McDonald's expanding in African-American communities with tons of African-American owners and board seats. That's Reverend Jackson. And so many other things around the world. So glad that the DNC paused to give him his flowers that he deserves so much.
And in October of 2024, the city of Chicago that he has called home since 1966 gave him the key to the city.
And what a fitting way to wish Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson a very happy birthday, giving him a key to the city he is truly considered to be his home. I think it is entirely appropriate to give great men and great women flowers while they can still smell them.
Use love to motivate you and obligate you to serve the human family. Young America, dream.
And as the news spreads about Reverend Jackson and his passing, people are sharing their thoughts about Reverend Jackson and his legacy.
Saquon is live at St. Sabina, which has been a focal point for the fight for equality in Chicago. Say.
Hey, good morning to you. Reverend Jackson spent quite some time here at St. Sabina on the city's south side, whether he was leading peace walks here around the neighborhood or using his voice to provide some extra support to members of this community. Now, oftentimes we know Jackson would team up with Father Michael Pfleger. The two have been allies and friends for decades, working together to lead many social justice efforts. Both have spent a large chunk of time together fighting for violence prevention and racial equality. Reverend Jackson is known for his his advocacy and involvement everywhere, but particularly here in the Auburn-Gresham neighborhood. He helped lead the Friday night peace walks in this community, which took place weekly during the summer months to help put an end to gun violence and instead to promote peace and advocate for community safety. He also spent time at St. Sabina for justice services and community events, including speaking on Dr. King's legacy and joining Father Flagler in 2014 for a special prayer service following the death of Michael Brown. We have reached out to Father Flagler and the team here at St. Sabina for more word. We still have not yet heard back. Guys?
Thank you for that update from St. Sabina, and stick with us all morning as we follow this breaking story. Huge loss for Chicago, for the civil rights movement, and quite the legacy that Reverend Jesse Jackson leaves behind. Roseanne is going to be joining us in the next half hour live from Rainbow Push Coalition headquarters, and you can also follow the story on Fox32Chicago.com and on Fox Local as well.
We're also following breaking news in downtown Chicago where police say someone shot a 14-year-old boy. It happened along East Washington Street. Officers say he was shot in the foot. We're now working to find out what led up to this shooting.
All right, there is a growing search for a local father who disappeared now months ago. His name is Dan Davis. Was last seen right near Bourbon Street in Blue Island back on November 26th. His daughter is now organizing a nationwide Find Dan Day this weekend where people from anywhere in the country can help search either online by sharing his flyer or on foot.
So there's going to be some zone maps released like what we've done in the past so people can choose their section, stick to that area for the day and do some door-to-door. They can hand out flyers. There's a bunch of different ideas for that. And then people who want to help remotely, they can make posts about my dad. They can share stuff on social media. They can call very local hospitals and news stations and stuff like that because, again, truly he could be anywhere. Though we found no clues as to like any preemptive like a plan to leave or anything written down or anything like that. I mean, my dad would never, ever, ever do this to his job. He wouldn't do it to me, especially around the holidays.
If you would like to assist in the search for Dan, you can find more information by going to our website, foxchicago.com. We're going to have all the details there. Speaking of searches for parents here, it is now day 17 in the search for Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's mom. And investigators say that they are working with Walmart to develop a lead here. The Pima County Sheriff says the backpack that this suspect was wearing is sold exclusively at their stores. Investigators are also testing DNA found on a glove, which was found near Nancy Guthrie's home.
6:38 now. Guys, I am absolutely living for this winter warm-up. It is literally probably one of the best things that has happened to me in the last few months.
Yeah.
Well,
I was miserable. I was miserable.
January was just endless, and now it's payback time, and we're reaping the rewards. Another mild day is on the way. Won't break a record. Yesterday, we crushed that record of 58 degrees. Told you it was low-hanging fruit. We made it up to 65 degrees. Now, the deal today is I think we can get into the low 60s away from the lakefront. Near the lake, a southeast wind is going to hold temperatures back. There's a chance that we get a shower here at some point this afternoon. I just really think the bulk of this is happening after dark. Here you see 8 o'clock. It's raining pretty much area-wide. Nobody's getting a lot of rain. Late tonight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, another little wave of showers cruises through, and that's when could even be a little flash with the splash, maybe a lightning event there. But by daybreak tomorrow, clouds are moving out, and tomorrow I think it'll be every bit as warm as yesterday was, going into the mid-60s. There's another storm system on the way, though. That's coming in here on Thursday. That's showing up in our futurecast here in some of the later hours of that one. It will be cloudier, but if the rain can just hold off a little bit longer, I think Thursday could be another 60-degree day here ahead of a downturn in temperatures. 62 today, unseasonably warm, but it will turn cooler at the lakefront where temperatures will likely fall off into the 40s later this afternoon. Gabriella, how about a 6:40-ish update on the commute?
Yeah, let's take a look. Mike, I know that Skyfox is up right now. You can see a live picture of them heading over to I-55 near 355. There's a reported crash there. We are seeing a lot of traffic as you approach kind of that Bolingbrook area, starting in Plainfield around Main Street is where that stop and go starts. But that's not it really for around I-55, I should say. It's on the northbound side of 294. It's a car and semi crash that's intersection they were just at, and it's before I-55 on the northbound side of the tri-state. A left lane is blocked, and it's backing up traffic almost to the mile-long bridge. So be aware of that. Your drive times, they should be looking fairly normal for this time of morning on a Tuesday. 35 minutes on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne interchange. Around the same on the Stevenson. Expect that to maybe come up a little bit. 40 minutes on the Eisenhower. Around 35 minutes on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne interchange. All right, we'll have much more Good Day Chicago coming up and more of remembering the life and legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson. Stay with us.
Sponsored by Ford.
Thursdays on Fox.
Okay, we continue to follow breaking news this morning. Sad day here in Chicago and really around the country. Civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson has passed away at the age of 84. His family says he died peacefully. Early this morning, he was surrounded by family members. And you'll recall that he had been struggling with his health in recent years. He was diagnosed with a neurological disorder. It was known as progressive supranuclear palsy. He was also suffering from Parkinson's disease as well. And along with being a key figure in the civil rights movement, Jackson was the founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition. He was a two-time presidential candidate in 1984 and 1988, narrowly losing the Democratic nomination to Michael Dukakis that second year, and Walter Mondale in 84. All right, Thomas Pritzker, the cousin of Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, is resigning as executive chairman of Hyatt Hotels. This decision comes after his connection to Jeffrey Epstein was revealed. The release files show the two exchanged at least 20 emails even after Epstein's plea deal on sex crime charges. Thomas Pritzker has not been accused of any wrongdoing and he has not been named in any investigations either.
A consumer advocacy group calls the spike in NIPSCO utility bill costs an affordability crisis 15 years in the making. The Citizens Action Coalition says what customers are paying right now is a direct result of not only the policies from Indiana state lawmakers, but the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. They pointed to 3 bills that have become law over the past 15 years. All of them essentially made it legal for companies like NIPSCO to get reimbursed for billions of dollars for their infrastructure projects, and they got that money from the consumer.
The consumer is sort of an afterthought. It's more important to create these jobs and grow that tax base, because then everything will trickle down and take care of itself. When all we've seen happen is utility bills going up and up and up, and with no end in sight. So again, it's just time to rebalance that scale, rebalance where the risk and the costs of this stuff goes, and take a deeper dive into the benefit analysis, if you will, of these extraordinary investments, because we're taking the food off people's kitchen tables.
The Citizens Action Coalition says state lawmakers have come to them asking for advice on what to do. They say anytime they're in public, their constituents continue to ask them when they will bring them financial relief for their high NIPSCO bills.
All right, today marks Lunar New Year, and for the first time in 60 years, the Chinese zodiac honors the fire horse, which represents rapid change and transformation. The Field Museum is marking this event with an exhibit that captures 50 million years of the horse. And unlike other species that roamed the earth long before we did, the horses dug up today are easier to map through evolution.
The fossil record is notoriously incomplete. Sometimes we only have one tooth to describe an entire species. But for horses, they evolved in North America. We find them out in the Badlands, the western part of the United States, and even in the Midwest, like Nebraska.
You can trace the history of the horse by visiting the After the Age of the Dinosaurs exhibit at the Field Museum. Tickets, you can buy them online, or you can just go to the museum and pick them up in person.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, after the break, we are going to walk you through the ruling that will allow clergy leaders into the Broadview ICE facility. We'll have more on that when we come back.
Local.
Welcome back. Time now 6:49 on your Tuesday morning. We continue to follow breaking news.
Civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson has died at the age of 84. It follows a long hospitalization late last year. Jackson had been diagnosed with a neurological disorder called progressive supranuclear palsy. He was also suffering from Parkinson's disease. Along with being a prominent figure in the civil rights movement, he was also the founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition.
Also breaking this morning, a 14-year-old boy is recovering after he was shot in downtown Chicago. Police say it happened along East Washington Street. We are working now to learn what led up to that.
It is now day 17 of the search for Nancy Guthrie, and investigators say they're working with Walmart to develop a lead. The Pima County Sheriff says the backpack this suspect was wearing is sold exclusively at their stores. Investigators are also testing DNA found on a glove near Guthrie's home.
Clergy members have been fighting to get inside the Broadview ICE facility, and they want to be able to give communion to detained migrants on Ash Wednesday.
And a court has just issued a ruling allowing that to happen. The Coalition for Spiritual and Public Leadership sued the Trump administration 3 months ago. We reported on this. They argued immigration authorities were unlawfully blocking members from providing pastoral care. Even though a judge has granted them access, they are still waiting for instructions.
We still have had no contact with ICE specifically in order to arrange our visit on Wednesday. So we're still waiting to hear back from them so that would play out. We really do hope that ICE will respond to this federal order, and it really would be disappointing to see the federal government disobey this clear order from a judge.
Ash Wednesday is tomorrow. It signals the beginning of Lent, the most important part of the year for the Roman Catholic Church. All right, if you're a parent of an Illinois high school football player, well, your summer is about to shrink a little bit more. The IHSA says member schools have voted to move the start of practice this upcoming season to August 5th. That's 5 days earlier than usual. It comes after member schools decided in December to expand the playoffs by a week. Each player has to complete 12 days of on-field practice before they're eligible to compete in their first game.
A lot of our teams are putting in work and having camps and things throughout the summer, but we know that not every student athlete has that opportunity. There are students who are going to have to work throughout the summer, or who might be out of the state or out of the country or doing other things. And for some of them, it's going to be their first day, that first day of practice where they've done anything, and they may not be in shape. So that whole process just really helps them to acclimatize to the heat, as well as to the different equipment, and then just get them kind of a slow build to get ready for the season.
Expanding the playoffs also means adding extra teams. 384 teams will compete across the 8 classes. That's nearly 130 more than before.
There is an exciting milestone planned for today as crews continue to work on the new Ryan Field in Evanston. A lot of progress being made up there. The stadium's first seat will be installed today. It is one of 35,000 new seats at the new stadium for Northwestern football, their new home. Stadium is set to open in time for the upcoming season, with the first game at the new Ryan Field held on Friday, October 2nd. Against Penn State, the Nittany Lions.
Only hope that the weather is going to be as good it has been the last couple of days.
October 2nd.
It'll start to get a little bit chilly.
A crisp fall day,
a crisp
perhaps.
fall day, which kind of, feels like this.
A plaid shirt, a fleece vest.
A hot coffee in the
Yes.
hand.
Oh,
maybe
there
a little
you
extra
go.
in there.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go, Gabby.
This is a legitimate question. Do you think it'll be warmer today or October the 2nd when they play that football game? Kind of a toss-up there. Tell you what, yesterday was something special. 65 degrees. We just obliterated the record by 7 degrees. It's rare that you blow one out of the water that big, but we did it. Today, not as warm. However, I still think it's going to be a 60-degree day, except near the lakefront. Our model tries to bring a sprinkle in around midday. I'm not buying it. I think the rain's coming in here after dark. Here you see 7, 8 o'clock, and we've got showers pretty much area-wide. Not a lot of rain. There may be a secondary wave of showers that could have a spotty thunderstorm mixed in. That will be kind of tied to a frontal system, behind which tomorrow we clear out, and it gets even warmer than what we will be today. I think tomorrow will be every bit as warm as it was yesterday. This is going to be ahead of the second storm system of the week. That one is coming in Thursday, especially during the afternoon and evening. I think our model's trying to bring in a little rain around midday. We'll see, but I still think we have a chance of getting, well, for certain, 350 pluses, but it may be 360s. Rainfall amounts, no drought busters here. We're looking at most areas getting less than 1/10 of an inch of rain between what we pick up overnight tonight and get during the day on Thursday, but at least it might wash a little bit of salt off your car. Here we go, 62 today, cooler at the lakefront, mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, we've got some shower activity, maybe a thunderstorm in there, a low of 50. 65 tomorrow. I think we'll tag 60 on Thursday before cooler air comes in. Any rain ends by daybreak Friday. Over the weekend, feels more like February with highs in the 30s. All right, Gabriella, how about a quick traffic update?
Yeah, let's talk about your drive times here, Mike. They're, again, pretty normal for this time of morning here on a Tuesday. Starting with the Kennedy Expressway, we're at 40 minutes from O'Hare to downtown for inbound trip. I'm going to call it 35 if you're headed outbound towards O'Hare. 45 minutes on the Eisenhower from Route 390 to the old post office. Our heaviest, but we don't have any incidents going inbound. You might have a little bit of a sunshine delay later on this morning. 35 minutes on the Stevenson from 355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. That earlier incident, it looks like before 355. That's not necessarily calculated into this drive time. It's still pretty heavy there. We're not sure exactly what's happening. Might be a stall that's blocking a lane or a crash. So please be aware of that if you're driving in from maybe Plainfield or Bolingbrook area. Also, we had that earlier crash on the northbound side of 294 near I-55. That looks like it's over on the shoulder. And lastly, your drive time for the Dan Ryan. It's at 35 minutes from 95th to the Burn interchange.
All right, thank you, Gabby. Appreciate it. We're coming up on 7 a.m. on your Tuesday morning. We have plenty more to get to here on Good Day Chicago. Keep it right here. We are following all the latest developments following the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Senate. A second round of negotiations between the United States and Iran will be held today. They are discussing Tehran's nuclear program. Ahead of the meeting, President Trump ordered an additional aircraft carrier to the region. In response, Iran launched a naval drill, according to state TV there. The Trump administration wants a deal to limit Iran's nuclear program and ensure it does not develop nuclear weapons.
Authorities in Minnesota say the FBI is not giving them access to evidence or information regarding the shooting death of Alex Preddy. Preddy was shot and killed by federal agents last